Hello everybody, this is Devin here with the Rogue Deck Chronicle podcast, and this week we have a very interesting deck we want to showcase from the black and white set, and it comes from two cards that debuted during the set, and one of the attacks, I think some of you guys are old school trading card game veterans are recognizing when you see it. So we are going to be playing Tirtouga Reuniclus. So on paper, this does not look like a pairing that makes any sense, but let's dig into the deck and I'll show you how they have the synergies and how they can build upon each other. So first is this Reuniclus. It has the attack for 1 color's energy Evo Lariat, where this attack is 40 more damage for each evolution Pokemon in play. So you can have a full bench of evolution Pokemon, so 40 and then for 6 others, so you can do up to 280 just for one single energy on a stage 2 psychic Pokemon. And say you need to set up, or you're facing, maybe you can't do the one shot just yet, you can do a cellular acceleration, which allows you to evolve up another Pokemon. And it makes sense where you have the cellular evolution as well in the Duosion to help you build up your deck and build up your board state. So how do we get a full bench of 6 if we can only run 4 Reuniclus? Well, that's where the Tirtouga comes into play. The Tirtouga is a evolution stage 1 Pokemon that evolves from the cover fossil. And the reason why I picked this as the partner really is Tirtouga can be the main attacker when we get into right situations because of the Ancient Seaweed attack. Ancient Seaweed is for 1 water energy, 30 times, and this does 30 for each item card in your opponent's discard pile. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Trashalanche is back, but under a different name. So, 30 damage, 10 item cards is 300, 11 is 330, 12 is 360. We're knocking out everything our opponent decides to just use all their items. Now, this is item cards, so tool cards and supporters can account for that calculation, but it's still going to be a really good way to have 2 different low energy single cost attackers. One benefits from the other one just covers type coverage and attack modifiers, so we can still do big damages for 1 energy no matter who our attacker is in play. So as we mentioned, the Tirtouga does evolve from the cover fossil. This is a 60 HP item card and has the protective cover ability to prevent all effects of attacks done to your opponent's Pokemon done to this Pokemon. So as long as this is in play and is on the bench, it can't be damage countered or anything like that. Now, Frostlass can tick onto it, but it can't be subject to Dragon Bolt attack unless it's in the active. We also run 2 Snorlax dolls, where if this is in your opening hand, you can play this as it's a Pokemon in your opening hand. It's 120 HP, and this card cannot be affected by special conditions, and it's knocked out. Your opponents do not take any prizes. So it's a no-risk lead, where you can just have that in the active while you're setting up your board, and then they not have to go through this Snorlax doll, and then you can start attacking. Now, let's look at the other aspects of our deck now that we went through our Pokemon line. So with a opening hand, we can do Boxed Order. Search your deck for 2 item cards, reveal them, put in your hand, then shuffle your deck. Your turn ends. These are really good. There's only 2 of them in the deck for that going first turn 0 type of play where we could put the cover fossils into our hand if we absolutely need to. We didn't get them in the opening hand to help with getting more of our board set up. And once you're set up, they just become Ultra Ball fodder. They become Earthen Vessel fodder. It's really good in terms of don't always have to play it. It's a really good opening hand card, but you don't have to play it for the rest of the game. We do run 3 Buddy-Buddy Poffin to help us set up our Solosis, which is 40 HP. We have 2 Earthen Vessels to help us get our energy. We have 2 Energy Search to get our energy. We're only running 1 type of energy, so the Earthen Vessel helps thin our hand because we do have cards, so we don't want clogging our hand at times. 2 Night Stretchers to help recover our Pokemon. One of our attackers is a stage 1, so sometimes just getting 1 piece will help do exactly what we need to do. And then in terms of supporter, we are running 3 Arven. We don't have any tool cards, but we do rely on item cards. So having an Arven grab a cover fossil, grab whatever we need, will be good to go. we are running the new Hilda supporter. Hilda is a supporter that reads, search your deck for an evolution and energy card, reveal them, put in your hand. So not only you're getting energy, you're getting an evolution piece, and this deck loves evolution Pokemon, so it's just a natural fit for the deck. We're running 3 Iono for hand disruption and for another version of draw. Running 2 Jacq. Again, we love evolution Pokemon, so just getting 2 out of the deck and putting onto the board is always a win for us. We are running 2 Professor Research to get a draw of 7, so we need to refresh the hand. We're good to go. And then we're going to be running 3 Salvatore. So we could Salvatore an evolution the turn it's played, and we can also do it on turn 1. We don't have any Pokemon that are evolutions that have abilities, so all of our evolution Pokemon are targets for Salvatore. So it's a really good way to do an accelerated setup for the deck. We are running 8 Water Energy. This may seem low, but when our attackers are only a single energy, we don't need a lot of energy to set up. We can actually just have 1 energy on multiple attackers and be able to streamline pressure from turn over turn. Last but not least, our aspect for the deck is Hyper Aroma. Search your deck for 3 Stage 1 Pokemon, reveal them, put in your hand. We have a lot of different ways to get our Pokemon into our hand, and Hyper Aroma will help us spread our board even quicker. I chose Hyper Aroma over other aspects because I really do believe that there's enough setup for the basic Pokemon where we really need to focus on that middle stage evolution, where the Tirtougas are technically stage 1s, our Duosions are stage 1s, and just spread a nice line of stage 1s onto our board, which will help us with our damage modification with the Reuniclus deck. As always, guys, this deck list will be in the show notes. It's a really fun deck where it's really all centered around a whole bunch of cards we got from the Black Bolt and White Flare set. So let's jump on the ladder and see how it does. Okay, let's jump into our first match here where we are leading with a Solosis here. We are going second with a Salvatore and a Cover Fossil in hand and a Buddy-Buddy. So it looks like we are going against a okay, whoa! How many mulligans how many Pokemon are in this deck? Okay, I'm not going to take all 8. Let's take 5. Okay, we have a lot here. So, it looks like we're probably just running into a quad Go deck. Seems weird saying that out loud, it really is. But we're going to be able to Salvatore into a Duosion this turn to be able to help evolve some of our pieces here on top of what we have in our hand. I'm going to probably assume we're not going to be able to keep this big hand for very long. So we just have to set up wide quickly and utilize our resources and then kind of just react to what our opponent's going to do. Alright, so let's put down the Cover Fossils. Let's Buddy-Buddy 2 Solosis into play here. Let's Salvatore our active is what I want to do. Okay. So then we're going to sell our evolution. Our Reuniclus. And we have enough in our hand to really put some pressure this turn. Let's hope we get what we want here. Alrighty. Making it rain. Is he going to have 3 different energies in his hand already? Maybe, maybe not. He does. Okay. But it really doesn't have much else, which is, I don't know, the concerning, but it's one of those situations where he has 2 items. He's being a little thin on the items, but we're going to try to put some attacking based pressure here with another Salvatore. No, we have to discard the Arven, unfortunately. So we are not going to be able to KO, we're just shy. But we're definitely putting pressure, so unless he sets up another attacker next turn, we have pieces in our hand to actually do the cleanup here. So let's see what our opponent does now. But for Pokemon play, we were putting 200, and we were able to go from a Solosis to a Reuniclus one turn without really utilizing too many resources. We thinned our hand down just because we wanted to make the board state wider. But we were able to really put this pressure on our opponent, where really at this point, they're trying to push through us with no bench. So let's see what our opponent is kind of doing. Making it rain. Okay, so they are just cycling through energy, but we're able to cycle through evolutions just as much as they can cycle through energy. So we're going to be able to get the win with the draw here. So let's evolve. And let's just poke for another 160, get the KO. Very intrigued on this quad Golden Go deck that we saw, but it showed off how we could get set up and kind of recover fairly quickly with the deck. So let's jump into another match to see how we do. Okay, time to jump into another match. We are going second again, and we have a lone Solosis to lead here. So looking at our hand, going second, we could Salvatore to Duosion, Energy Search our energy, and then evolve up to the Reuniclus. We could also Arven for the Buddy-Buddy and kind of just go wide this turn, and then Jacq the next turn, kind of build up. Really just depends on what our opponent does and for what our opponent is going to be playing. So we have a couple options. This hand doesn't seem great, but we have plenty of options to do, especially because we're going second. So our opponent is taking their time setting up, so curious to see what they're going to flip over, because if we don't have to go super aggressive turn one in terms of trying to set up an attacker now, the Arven for Buddy-Buddy I think is going to be the better play. If we have to kind of put a little more pressure and put more gas on that accelerator, then I think Salvatore is the right play. But we kind of have to see what happens. Alright, it's a Charmander, so we're facing some form of Charizard deck. So if they stay at Charmander Chameleon, we don't need to really put much effort into it. Once it goes to Charizard, we're not going to be able to one-shot the Charizard until we see a whole bunch of items into that discard pile, where we would be turning more into the turtle side of this deck. But let's see what our opponent does, and kind of seeing what we need to do. From what we're seeing, I think I'm going to go Arven Buddy-Buddy unless we pull the Buddy-Buddy off the top of the deck. Alright, so attach pass. So, okay, so yeah, we're going to Arven. We're going to play a little slower for setup here. So we're going to grab that Buddy-Buddy this turn. We're really just going to lean into being more of the Solosis deck for this matchup as of right now. I'm going to keep my hand as is, so we're just going to pass back. We set up our bench. So what we can do is evolve Duosion, Salvatore into a Reuniclus, and be able to put at least 80 damage with a pressure on, depending on what this Charizard turns into. And then we have the energy and the energy search. Okay. Buddy. So they're Dreepy in the play. Prism energy? Luminous energy, okay. I was like, Prism doesn't make sense for this deck. But Luminous definitely does. But setting up their bench, they're going to have a Charmander and a Dreklock into play right now. So only the Charmeleon evolution. Okay. Not the worst thing in the world to see. You know what? I have a feeling going a little slower is going to be the best play here. So let's put the Duosions. Let's have a lot of Duosions here. And then let's energy search. Grab an energy. So we know that one energy is prized. And I want to evolve one of our bench. So we have the Reuniclus in hand already. So what we could do this upcoming turn is evolve Iono. Minimum we're doing is 120. We can do 160 with the 3. And start really trying to streamline our attackers. Because now that we have multiple Reuniclus on board, potentially, we can start focusing on the other 3 slots, being the cover fossils, the Tirtougas, and really trying to take advantage of these item dumps that our opponent's going to be just naturally getting into. Boss's Order, okay. The other Duosion, not the worst thing in the world. So they're gonna... I guess that's a way of thinning the hand a little bit. So the one thing this deck does not do is have any form of gusting. You know, that is fully aware. That's kind of more by design more than anything else. So we're going to evolve. We are going to Iono. The 2 Salvatores in hand really aren't useful now. So we're going to Ultra Ball. Shocking this away here. Let's grab another Reuniclus. Again, we're just trying to get those cover fossils. We really aren't able to grab them right now. But doing the 160, getting that first KO, putting that pressure on right now isn't the worst thing in the world. Another Salvatore, that's fine. We're running into our Salvatores and not our Arvens. We ran into one Arven, but we're really not getting the cover fossil set up the way we would like. But now we have multiple Reuniclus. Our opponent just gave us 2 more cards. That's amazing. Two cover fossils with a Hyper Aroma and a Salvatore. That is actually not bad at all. So we'll put the 2 cover fossils in play. We could always just Hyper Aroma for more stage 1s and kind of just get set up and get kind of a little more cruise in here. So we're definitely hitting our damage that we want to see. Our opponent is putting 1, 2, 3, soon to be 4, so that's 120. I don't think he... Obviously most people are not preparing for the Garbodor kind of attack like this. Trashalanche, this Ancient Seaweed attack. So we are just waiting for our opponent to really just put that easy damage modifier for us. Like, if they don't play their items, then they're not going to be able to thin as much typically. So the Charmeleon is... Okay. That has a Luminous Energy. Perfect. So let's drop 2 cover fossils into play here. I don't think we really need to do anything else, as much as I would love to be able to thin. Actually, let's thin. Let's Hyper Aroma. Let's put the Tirtougas in the hand. Let's Salvatore 1 Tirtouga into play. Again, we want to pull cards out of that deck. We want to be able to maximize next turn the best that we can. So we're doing 240. The cover fossil does have a small bug on the calculation in live. I am very well aware of that. Obviously, that 240 is if we actually would have had a Tirtouga into play, but we would have had enough to KO that Charmeleon either way. So when I was doing the testing, I was aware of the bug. It's just part of the calculation. The game sees the cover fossil as an evolution. It's not. So it's just a little bit of a bug, but we would have had enough because we had 4 total anyway. So we're seeing these rare candies. We're seeing air balloons. Unfortunately, air balloon now is a tool, not an item. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 150. We're seeing 150 damage in the discard pile for us for these Tirtougas. So they're just doing a draw and pass. So we're really getting to the point where we're able to just put nice early pressure, like having the energy, kind of just distributing it the way we are. This is a true 240 now. Our opponent is just allowing us to take the early prize lead, which makes us a little susceptible to the Iono. However, I think we've set ourselves up in a way that if we do get Iono, I think we will be able to survive and kind of just push through. So I'm just always checking that discard pile. We see the Charizard in hand. We know there's a rare candy in hand. There we go. So I know the Charizard obviously does more damage based on how many prices we take, but the base attack does damage, or does more than enough to KO us. So now we're able to kind of push damage. The 330 means we're looking for 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 180 right now. Burning Darkness, that's the KO. Okay, so right now the best damage calculation is going to be this Reuniclus. So let's just promote that up. The Tirtouga is really good later game, obviously, when the items are getting there, and we know the items are getting there. So let's Arven. Let's do a filter of the entire deck real quick. Alright. Our last Solosis is prized. So we're just going to we'll do the 240. Yeah, it's a little cheap knowing that the 240 isn't true 240. But now that allows us to really start putting pressure on our opponent, knowing that he's going to have to put, like, it's 5-3 right now. Charizard is his only attacker. He's about to counter catcher something. He can counter catcher anything really, and it doesn't really hurt us as much. Okay. So unless he has a second Monkey Dory and a second, or what, a third Luminous Energy, then the cover fossil is good. we'll be able to evolve. The damage doesn't really matter. So we are seeing items hit the discard. So after he discards, I'm curious on what he will discard to get. Okay. It's getting a Jacq lock. Okay. So with that, we have 1, 2, 3. No, that's a tool card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 240. So now Tirtouga is doing good damage. So we really are trying to climb to that 330 number. So we're going to use this last Reuniclus to really cap out its damage while we kind of just let the turtles kind of sit in the background. So let's dig a little bit here. We got double Night Stretcher and some items here. So let me look at something real quick. So we have double Night Stretcher with 1, 2. Okay. So let's Night Stretcher a Solosis back into our hand and back onto the bench. And then let's Evo Larry for 200 to get the KO. We're going to go down the 2 prizes, which is a little scary because of this Iono threat. There's another Solosis. But we are, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 240. So we're really, really close. We're 3 items away, 4 items away. We're really just putting Tirtouga into one-shot territory here. So forcing our opponent to go through a whole bunch of single prizers as we are doing more than enough. Because Iono is really not going to help us. We're going to Iono ourselves down for no reason. The Night Stretcher, if this Solosis doesn't get KO'd, we might have to stop putting Solosis in play if he's just going to just Phantom Dive over and over again. We don't want to give him more than 1 turn worth of multi-prizes. Okay. Okay. Saw that coming a little bit. So next turn, if our opponent has another... Okay, so we have the energy, so I'm going to force him to have to do something with this turtle here. Because we have the energy. I kind of like my hand, and I don't really want to do anything about it. So we're doing 240, so we're turning this... We're kind of just putting this Jacq lock. Yeah, we see that there's an air balloon. I'm curious on how much real action, like, I think our opponent understands the item, like the ancient seaweed piece. So where after this turn, if there's a boss in hand, that's game, because he's going to boss one of these up and then take the last 2 prizes, but if not, we can Iono to see if we can do some form of disruption. But I don't know if the Iono is worth it. Oh, there's the game. Yep. Good play on our opponent for kind of putting us in the spot. The Solosis on the bench was kind of free damage there. And our opponent definitely understood the math with Ancient Seaweed. These EXs, really hard to hit in one shot. This is definitely more of a prize trade game, but our opponent did a really good job kind of managing the comeback pieces where we were just one turn away from really putting that pressure. But let's jump into another game to see how we do. Okay, let's jump into another match here where we are leading with a Solosis here. And we are going second, so this is not a bad lead. We have 2 cover fossils with energy for research. We will have to ditch a Duosion, but I think that's fine. And we're facing a fire deck with Pheasantipity on the bench. So, looks like that Pheasantipity is going to be live for the entire game. Like we said earlier, we do not have any gusting cards. But with this being a fire deck, Tirtouga could be a very good, valuable card if we can get a reasonable amount of item cards into that discard pile. Alright, so we just got an attached pass, which is fine, because we are about to go a little crazy here. I think we have as much of a good start as possible here. Getting rid of the Earthen Vessel doesn't feel the greatest, but that's just generally fine. We have a Jacq for next turn. Let's Ultra Ball away. Arven and Iono. No. Hilda and Arven. It doesn't feel the greatest doing that, but I want to try to set up as many pieces as possible for next turn. And then we're just going to do a surprise attack there. Fails. Okay, so 0. That's fine. So we can Jacq for some evolution pieces. There's the Fire Fandango already up and running. So because he's 180, he just needs to put 3 items into that discard pile, and we're rolling. There's 2. Question is, does he have enough in his hand to get what he needs? So we're just kind of waiting to see what our opponent does, because he needs to put 4 energy onto the import to do any significant damage. There's 3. So if he does go for the attack this turn, their Tirtouga is online. So if 2 of those 4 cards in his hand are energy, we know at least 1 is. Ah, he is 1 shot. Okay, so that gives us a turn of life here, where I really don't want to give him much. Let's put it that way. Let's just assume he's going to get the energy next turn. We have Iono, unless we get Iono, and it's still not a worse thing. So we're just going to see if we can get another surprise attack in. We've got the head, so we have to do We have the magic number really with 1, 2, 3. We have the 180 with Tirtouga. Now let's try to build the board up to make Reuniclus a threat as well. He's just adding more and more power to us here. He's trying to set up multiple rooms, which makes sense, or rev room, sorry. So that makes sense. But if he's not getting draw. Yep, so he's protecting that Emboar for a turn. That's fine. There's the rev room, okay. I really don't want to Iono him into more cards. I don't think we'll have to, but I think we can poke with... So I want to protect the Tirtouga for at least one attack here. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're at 150 with Tirtouga. We're at 160 with Evo Lariat, so we got the math. Yes, it's a little bugged with the cover fossil, I do understand that, but we're going to take advantage of the math right now. There's another Tirtouga, so we can pop that up. I feel bad that was the reason for that KO. It's because of a bug on this calculation here. Levencia. Oh, they probably use lightning energy to discard for the rev room. That makes sense. So now we have the Reuniclus set up. He has an Emboar, but he really can't do much with it. So he's just feeding us his non-engine until he's going to have to, which we're fine. Like, we get to go wider and wider. We're going to be able to hit our numbers. He Ionos us to 5. I'm not upset with that. We had 3, so it's always good to get more cards into hand here. And we got more or less what we need here. We could Arven for the piece we need for the Tirtouga. We can actually Arven for a Hyper Aroma to get more evolutions into play here. And we can prove that we've already been able to hit for that 230. So as long as this Amp You Very Much doesn't go too crazy, we're going to have multiple Reuniclus in play in a couple turns. So we're going to be able to set up our board state. How many cards? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 180 now. It's not too bad. So he is 7, so that's 210. So he's 1 away from turning Tirtouga into one-shotting everything on his board, including that Iron Hands, which is not a bad thing. So we want to try to set up as many different ways of attacking for us as possible. Like the Reuniclus can hit that number. The Tirtouga is getting closer to that number now, giving us more fire attackers to punch into is not a bad thing. So let's see what he's gonna make it, or like force us to get into. So is he trying to try to power up a Reshiram? He's gonna just try to power up a Reshiram. And he's gonna try to power up an Iron Hands. I have a feeling that lightning energy is gonna go not on there. Okay, cool. So another cover fossil, fantastic. So we are going to Arven. I want to grab the Hyper Aroma if we have it. We don't, it's prized. That is fine because we can just Ultra Ball. So we're going to Earthen Vessel, Snorlax Doll away. We're almost out of energy in the deck, which is fine. How many of our rescue stretchers have we used? We've used one, so we don't want to get too aggressive on the discarding pieces, but we might have to. I think we have enough with what we have here. We're going to go on the... We already know the math is bugged, but we're just going to take advantage just a little bit more. Because we have the Reuniclus in hand, we're just going to grab another piece here. There's a Jacq, so we can grab two turtles out of the deck now. So we're going to get a pretty solid board state now. The Reshiram can hit numbers. That's fine. So I'm just going to be curious if he wants to try to set up in Iron Hands. He's using the... Okay. Okay, so Tirtouga is definitely going to KO the Reshiram. That's easy. That's easy math. Setting up another Reuniclus, we can set up Jacq, we can... Really, we can just go full turtles at this point. Yeah, we're going full turtles at this point. There's plenty of item cards in that discard pile for turtles to be a finisher here. So we can go turtle, turtle, turtle with the Jacq here. The Reuniclus can just kind of sit there. And we just have to make sure we just keep the pressure up. Because I think we're going to be racing ahead enough where the Iron Hands doesn't make it too much of a obstacle. So we're just... grab double turtle. Now, energy might be a problem, but we're about to grab cards. So yeah, we're doing 660 here. So that's 330, which is more than enough to KO everything. So as long as we get one energy out of these prizes, potentially, or a way to draw like harder than Iono. Energy, perfect. So our opponent can Iono us down to 2, which might and would be a problem. But now we see our opponent is going to try to just slow us down, beat us to Emboar. Because he's going to set up multiple Emboars. He's going to flip the script. So there's all those double prizers on the bench, but I don't see him forcing us to go into that this turn. I think ideally he would love to set up his Iron Hands for an Amp You Very Much. But he's just going to attack into that. So, no hand disruption, which is fantastic. We can put the Reuniclus into play. We can attach. I'm going to Iono him down, because I'd rather him just have to flip the script to 6 than to have all those cards in hand already. Let's Buddy-Buddy. How many Duosians are in the discard pile? Just the 1, so 2. So there's still 1 more left in the deck. Plus, if we're able to get a Night Stretcher, we could put more on, just to kind of, again, just power up that Reuniclus just a tad. But we already have a Tirtouga with an energy on it. Buddy-Buddy doesn't really help. So now we're in a situation where, unless he can take both attackers out, we should be in a good spot for finishing up next turn. So let's see what our opponent does. is he's going to have to attack through a Reuniclus with a Tirtouga on the bench, which we already proven that can do 330, which knocks out this entire bench. So not a bad showcase of, if our opponent gets a little too item happy, the Tirtouga can definitely put in late game pressure. Reuniclus has definitely still done a lot of heavy lifting in this match, don't get me wrong, which is why I believe these two cards are really good partners, because Reuniclus can just do that early game poke and prod, he can still hit 200 very easily. But the Tirtouga, especially on the deck like this, where they're super item reliant and they're not paying attention to their resources, can come in and just finish. So let's see what our opponent does. We know there's a lot of energy in that hand. We know he's getting more resources. So he's gonna definitely do the 260. We get to see Tirtouga. Yep, I knew the Iono to 1 would be a thing, but that's why we wanted to set up multiple attackers. In a boxed order, we're not going to use it. Just going to promote and finish, potentially. But having another Tirtouga on the bench, even if we got another water energy, would have been fantastic. But us putting that pressure, yes, we took advantage of the bug damage calculation with the cover fossils, but it's one of those situations that, like, so like we can grab a Hilda and show off a little bit here. I don't always advocate doing this, but I just still wanted to show what we could do. We're doing 720 going into weakness here. So that's going to be the game against a Fire Fandango box that made me very intrigued on how they kind of got there. Of course, the Hyper Aroma is the last card we pulled. But there is Tirtouga Reuniclus kind of showing off the strengths of both cards and doing what we needed to do with that. So, good game. We definitely used the weakness mechanic to our advantage a little bit, but it still showcased what the deck could do. Okay guys, so that is Reuniclus Tirtouga. So it is a very interesting deck. It is definitely much on the more fun deck. If you know that maybe you play with a lot of players that love to use their items, Tirtouga can definitely take advantage of that. That ancient seaweed, that Trashalanche style of attack is a little different now compared to maybe when it was introduced, when Garbodor was a thing. I think players generally and decks generally are a little less item reliant, especially with the reclassification of tool cards not being items anymore. Will definitely make the Tirtouga portion of this deck a little weaker than expected. The high HBs for these stage 2 GX or EXs are a little harder. That 330 is a really hard number to hit. That 11 items, like, that's a very much a high level of critical mass that players will have to get to. Definitely a little bit on the slower end. You could definitely add rare candies to accelerate the Reuniclus step more. Like, you can cut 2 Duosions completely and just go into a 4-2-4 line with Reuniclus and try to get more Reuniclus into play. Very much a realistic possibility. You could cut some Salvadors for some gusting cards, different things like that as well. But as always, that is just my experience. This is what I've been testing with. I like the results generally. The Dragon Ball matchup is a little on the harder side, but it does pretty well. It's pretty fun on the ladder. Like I said, I would definitely bring this to a league challenge. Maybe a cup if I knew that a lot of the players going to the cup, I knew what type of decks and playstyles they were. But this is a fun league night, league challenge type of deck that you can definitely showcase some fun cards in this set. But as always, guys, thank you very much. If you made it this far into the video, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel for a whole bunch of different rogue ideas and different deck types and archetypes so we look into the Pokemon TCG. We hope you guys are enjoying the content, and as always, have fun playing those sneaky decks. Bye, guys.